baking ice cream.
Now, there are many reasons that Baked Alaska is usually made in restaurants. I made it for many years in restaurant kitchens, and that's because there are tons of moving parts. You've got a cake base, a dome of ice cream, and then you slather it with meringue. And then it goes and it gets browned. Now, there are a lot of problems with this dish as well. It's too sweet. You've got vanilla cake, vanilla ice cream, and vanilla flavored meringue, all very sweet and one-dimensional. Also, often that meringue will not stick right onto that ice cream. You go to slather it, put it in the oven, it just slumps right off.
And then there's the idea that you gotta set it on fire at the table, which sounds fun, but actually could be kind of a fire hazard.
It can. Best leave that to the professionals. We're going to make a much easier version, much safer version. We're gonna start with 2 pints of coffee ice cream, and we're gonna use the shapes of these pint containers to our advantage.
And now that's premium coffee ice cream, so it melts more slowly, and I'm imagining that's a big deal.
That is a huge deal, exactly. I'm going to release the coffee from its natural habitat. Just use scissors, cut it around. And I'm putting these so that the wider parts are close to each other. I'm going to pick up this plastic and kind of press them together, just so that they start to stick.
It's an ice cream barrel.
That's exactly what it looks like. It's kind of like a root beer barrel. So now I've got them stuck together. Just going to press this to get rid of that barrel shape. We want a cylinder, not a barrel. So I'm going to roll this up. I'm going to put it in the freezer, but we want to set it on one end. I don't want to set it on this long end because it could start to flatten in the freezer.
Ah, you'd have a flat side.
We really want this to refirm. That's going to take about an hour. Ice cream's chillin'. Time to bake the cake. So we're going with a chiffon cake. Love chiffon cakes.
Yoga of cakes. It can bend.
It can bend, yes, exactly. I've got here a cup of cake flour. Cake flour is very important for chiffon cakes, much less gluten than all-purpose flour, so it's going to give us a lighter crumb. To this, I'll mix a 1/3 cup of unsweetened cocoa, and you can use Dutch process or non-Dutch process. Also have a 1/3 cup of sugar, 1½ teaspoons of baking powder, a little extra lift, and a 1/4 teaspoon of just plain old salt. Whisk this together quickly, just trying to get out any cocoa lumps. All right, so now we're going to add our liquid ingredients. We're using vegetable oil. It's a 1/2 cup right in. That's going to keep that crumb nice and moist. And 6 tablespoons of water, just a little extra liquid here. And 4 egg yolks right in there. Whisk this together. So it looks like a brownie mix, doesn't it?
That smells good.
Quite far from vanilla, isn't it?
Yes.
So now let's move on over to the electric mixer. Chiffon cakes are leavened with whipped egg whites, so they have a really nice light texture. I'm going to turn the mixer on to medium-low, so I have 4 of the egg whites already in here. Just want to break apart the egg whites. It's kind of like when you stretch a balloon before you blow into it. All right, so those egg whites are loosened up, a little bit foamy. Now I'm going to crank this to medium-high. We're going to let it go about another minute. This time, I'm looking for those egg whites to really start to build up in shape. You can see that the egg whites definitely have increased in volume, nice and soft. I'm going to gradually add 1/3 cup of granulated sugar. Another minute or 2 on medium-high until the egg whites form soft peaks. So let's move back over to our chocolate batter. Now this batter is pretty heavy. If we were to add all the egg whites at once, they would deflate. Exactly. So I'm going to add 1/3 of these whipped egg whites right into there just to loosen that batter. I'll just use my whisk and work it in. So doing this is going to lighten the batter so that we can add the rest of the egg whites without the fear of...
You're tempering it.
Yes. We'll go ahead and add the rest all at once. And now I'm going to use a rubber spatula and fold this in. And I want to be pretty gentle with this. I don't want to start beating down those egg whites. And I also want to look to make sure that I don't have too many streaks of white. So this batter is going to go into an 18 by 13 inch rimmed baking sheet. Now I've gone ahead and greased this, layer parchment, and more vegetable oil spray right on top. A little offset spatula. You could use a rubber spatula as well, just to get it to the edges. So now I'm going to put this in a 350-degree oven. It won't be in there for very long, maybe 10, 13 minutes. But what I'm looking for is when I press on the center of the cake, it's going to spring back. Oh, pretty cake.
Ooh, I just smell a little bit of that chocolate.
Oh, yeah. Now let me check and make sure that the cake is done. So if I take my fingers right in the center, it should just spring back.
Oh yeah, look at that.
You don't want to underbake this cake because as you go to roll it, if it's too moist in the inside, you'll just have fudge around the ice cream. Sounds like a great thing, but it's too messy. So we're gonna leave this here for about 5 minutes, let it cool in the pan before we turn it out. That's gonna allow the cake to firm up, because right now it's too fragile to flip. All right, this is cooled 5 minutes, time to turn it out. Got another wire rack, greased it so that when I go to re-invert this, it won't stick to this rack. So we're gonna place this right on top. Just going to loosen the edges with a knife, and I'm going to flip it out. Et voila. Move it over. Now I want to carefully peel off that parchment. Hello, pretty cake.
Ooh, look at that.
Oh yeah. And now I'm going to re-invert. Flippity dippity.
Nicely done.
So this is going to stay here until it cools completely, and that's going to take 15 minutes. All right, the cake is cooled completely. Time for a little arts and crafts. We're gonna cut out our shapes to completely encapsulate our ice cream. So we need to get all of our shapes out of this sheet. It's very easy to do. First of all, I just wanna trim off one of these edges here just to clean it up. So about 1/4 inch in. So now I want to measure in 4.5 inches from the edge. And there we go. So I'm going to score this with my knife. I love it when it lines up with one of these grids from the cooling rack. That is just brilliant. I'll go ahead and cut this. And now I want this piece to measure 11 inches across. So depending on the size of your sheet pan and how much it's shrunk in the oven, it might measure just about 11 inches. And I love it. Spot on. So from this new cut mark, I'm going to go in 4 inches and cut that right through. Now this one, I want to measure 10 inches in length. There we go. For the rest of this, all I need is one 3.5 inch circle, and a biscuit cutter works perfectly here. Stamp it out and pop, there's our circle. All right, so I'm gonna clean up here, move these scraps over, but if you wouldn't mind going and getting the ice cream out of the freezer for me.
Well, this guy's nice and hard.
Coffee log. All right, I want the size of this ice cream to match the size of this cake. So this was 4.5 inches wide, there we go. I'll take my knife and just cut right through it. All right, and I'm gonna put this little bit of ice cream on the plate with those chocolate cake scraps. The rest of the log goes right onto our cake. And now I'm going to roll it up. It's okay if it cracks a little bit, and it will crack a little bit. No harm, no foul, because meringue covers all sins, right? Now, I'm gonna take this little circle and we're gonna put it just on one end. We're going to go ahead and wrap this back up. Now I want to put it on the cake side down. Wrap it back up pretty tightly because we want this to start really forming that log shape at this point. All right, so this is going to go back in the freezer. We want to let that ice cream set back up, get really nice and hard, so another 30 minutes at least. Now also, the scraps that we have over here, we are not throwing these away. So this little bit of ice cream and this cake is enough to make a baked Alaska for 2.
Aw, and you can find that mini baked Alaska recipe on our website, americastestkitchen.com.
So this needs to go in the freezer, this needs to go in the freezer at least 30 minutes. All right, our cake and ice cream fully frozen. And you can see how when I compressed it together, a lot of those cracks really just come together. You don't see them at all. So I'm gonna take a knife, eyeball half, and slice right through. All right, so now these are going to go on that cake. Remember, this was the one that was 4 inches across, 10 inches long.
It's all coming clear.
So now, these are the ends with the cake. These go right here on the outside.
This construction project finally made sense to me.
Now that these are all together, take the plastic, and this time I just want to gently push this together. So I'm going to wrap this back up. Here's the good news. This is going to go back in the freezer for another 2 hours, but you can actually do it up to this point, up to 2 weeks in advance. So far we've got cake and ice cream, right? But it's not baked Alaska unless it's coated with meringue. So I've got 3 egg whites right in here. You can see over here I've got a double boiler. It's a saucepan. I've got about 1 inch of simmering water in there. You don't want to fill a double boiler too full. You want to make sure that the bottom of this bowl is going to sit above that water. Otherwise, it'll cook these eggs too quickly. I do need to add a few ingredients, starting with 3/4 cup of sugar, 1/3 of a cup of light corn syrup. Corn syrup is actually less sweet than sugar, so we're gonna still have some sweetness. It's gonna give it a great texture, but it's not going to be as sweet as regular meringue. Then we have 2 tablespoons of water and a pinch of salt. just mix this to break it all up. All right, let's put this on the double boiler. I'm going to whisk this gently but constantly for about 5 minutes. Now what I'm really looking for is the temperature of this mixture should reach 160 degrees, and that's how we know it's safe to eat.
So when you're making a Swiss meringue, slow and low is the tempo because you don't want to overshoot that 160 degrees or else you'll hard cook the eggs.
All right, we're just moments away from that magic number of 160, and this always does tend to cook a little fast near the end. There we go. We're gonna take this off immediately, if not sooner, and fit it on our big stand mixer. With the whisk attachment, at this point, we're just trying to cool this mixture down. So we'll let it go on medium speed for about 5 minutes. All right, our mixture has cooled down now.
It looks awesome.
Doesn't it? It's all soft and puffy.
Oh.
Now at this point, I'm going to increase the speed to high. We're gonna let it go another 5 minutes, and that meringue should start to lose some of its gloss at that point. Woohoo! Check out this consistency. Oh yeah, so it's got really nice stiff peaks. Now we're going to add one more ingredient. It's a teaspoon of vanilla extract right at the end. We're just gonna let this go for about another minute. Really, I'm just looking for that vanilla to be combined into the meringue. And that is it for our meringue. We're ready to frost our cake. Now, I did go ahead and take this cake out just a few minutes ago. You wanna let it sit out for a little bit of time because meringue sticks a lot better to slightly less cold surfaces than straight out of the freezer. So now we cover, and we're gonna cover all of our sins, all of the cracks, everything that we didn't need to worry about before. So I'm going to do a little bit of a plop job at the beginning.
My kind of frosting job.
Oh yeah.
Messy on purpose.
That's right. I'm gonna try to avoid getting that meringue onto the rack because meringue is also used in the pastry world as glue.
Boy, and that meringue just stays in place. It's not very droopy.
It's gorgeous, isn't it?
It is gorgeous.
Here's where the fun starts. We're gonna take a spoon, we're gonna turn this baked Alaska, which already looks pretty darn good, into something that is gorgeous. We're gonna give it peaks and valleys, and that way when it browns, you're gonna have this different colors all over this baked Alaska. So just taking the back of a spoon, there is no wrong way to do this. I like to continue to do this until it kind of looks like an ice cream hedgehog. So this is going to go into an oven and not a broiler. Broiler would make it kind of spotty brown, but the 500-degree oven is going to give it more of an even browning. Of course, we're going to have those peaks. They're going to get a little bit more toasty. And it's only going to be in there for 5 minutes. Surprise!
Oh, that is a good party trick.
Oh, yes.
Oh, that looks so cool.
Now,
I'm so excited.
I know, I'm so happy for you. We've got to get this off of that hot pan. I'm going to work in there with 2 spatulas. And there we go. Happy days are here again. I almost hate to cut into this, but there's a lot of good stuff inside.
I can't wait to try this.
So I'm going to score it because that top meringue is just a little bit crispy. And then straight through. Check it out.
That is so cool.
I'm going to give you this beautiful piece.
Yeah. All right. First bite, baked Alaska. The meringue, the texture of the meringue. It's like a cloud. A little bit of crunch and then it dissipates and you're left with the ice cream underneath. Okay, that's amazing.
This is so different though, because I've had so many sweet baked Alaskas. I mean, they should be called baked sugar. This is perfect, that coffee ice cream. A little bit adult, maybe I've grown up.
Everybody needs to taste a real baked Alaska at least once in their life, and for the ultimate version, start by shaping the ice cream into a cylindrical shape, then make a flat chocolate chiffon cake that's easy to mold around the ice cream. Finally, cover the entire thing with Swiss meringue and bake it in a hot oven until it's nicely browned. And there you have it, from the test kitchen to your kitchen, the ultimate recipe for baked Alaska. Thanks for watching America's Test Kitchen. What'd you think?
Well, leave a comment and let us know which recipes you're excited to make, or you can just say hello.
You can find links to today's recipes and reviews in the video description.
And don't forget to subscribe to our channel.
See you later.
I'll see you later.